Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone. This is Michael Green with Sannam S4. I am the general manager for the company based in India, and I'm very pleased to have you here on the line with us today for a very interesting set of presentations that we'll look forward to you on the topic of the global growth opportunities in MedTech, export preparedness, and in-market support. So I'm thrilled to have Tembi Secret here with us. She's the Director of Global Health Initiatives for the U.S. Commercial Service. She's based out of the Seattle area, so hopefully we're starting at a good time for folks from the West Coast to join us, as well as those in Mountain, Central, and Eastern time zone as well. We also have my colleague here, Bharat Rampal. He is the Head of Research and Partnerships for Sannam S4. I'd also like to, at the top, thank AdvaMed and MDMA, who partnered with us on this webinar and distributed it to their membership. So without kind of maybe I'll just kind of lay some rules of the road. You'll notice in the webinar, if you logged into the webinar platform, you can ask questions directly to us there, and I will be monitoring those questions throughout, holding most of them to take on at the end after both the presentations are made, but would encourage you to engage with us that way. And the run of show, Tembi will be the first to present for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then her presentation will mostly focus on kind of global growth opportunities, the U.S. Department of Commerce, and the resources that are available to bring your company up to speed from an export preparedness perspective, and also touch on some of the trends in medical device space, in the MedTech space, that I'm sure many of you are aware of. After Tembi presents, my colleague Bharat will speak to kind of shine a spotlight on the Indian market. So a high-level overview on what's happening in India, and then we should have some time for Q&A at the end. So with that, Tembi, maybe I can turn it over to you to get started with the first presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak with you today about the global market for healthcare technologies, and more specifically focused in on medical devices and the services and support available from the U.S. Department of Commerce for U.S. companies looking to take their products and services international, as well as the specific focus on India. And of course, we are delighted to be partnering with our strategic partner of Sannam S4, who has a specific focus on India today and some excellent information. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with the question, why export? And for those of you who are used to selling in the U.S., you are well aware that the U.S. is the largest market. Everyone speaks English. You have things figured out. So why bother with all of the sometimes what can be a difficult beginning to start selling your products overseas? And our answer is because that's when he is. So 70% of the world's purchasing power is outside of the U.S. So if you're not looking at those international markets, you are missing out on opportunities and growth potential that you simply cannot get by just staying in the U.S. and focusing on that market here. Another thought is if you are not moving into those international markets, your competitors are. And the largest growth rates are really in some of those emerging markets, developing markets, where there is a little bit of a higher risk perhaps, but higher potential return as those markets are looking to increase their medical spending, increase their outcomes and patient care, and are looking for high quality products to do that. So it starts to the question, that's great that there is opportunity overseas. It's great we can make money. But then it gets down to the specifics, and that's where often we can run into trouble. But again, looking at where we want to go on how we get to those international markets, we at the Department of Commerce see exporting specifically related to jobs. The more companies export, the more money they're making, the more jobs they're creating. So that's our big motivation as a federal agency, is how are we supporting the U.S. economy in creating those jobs. So for you, that also equals approximately $622,000 for 12 months of working with us. So if you have not exported before, if you've maybe exported to a few markets, connecting with the resources that are available through our agencies does have that immediate impact and ability to see the value to your companies through expanding into international markets. Companies that export grow faster and are 8.5% less likely to go out of business. And this goes down to everything from now sales cycles to expanding the life cycle of some of your older equipment perhaps, to being more aware of the trends that are happening in international markets. What are the demands? What are the innovations that are coming out of other markets? How can you partner and research and stay on top of what's available? So an interesting statistic for me is that less than 5% of U.S. small and medium-sized companies export, and out of that, 58% only sell to one market. So there's a lot of opportunities to get in front of what's going on in the international marketplace and take part in that growth that is available. So again, we come down to what are the specifics? How can we actually help you compete abroad? And who do we focus on helping? I know a lot of companies, when they think about working with a federal agency, tend to think it is just for the big guys, for your, maybe GE Healthcare or some of the folks that have an office in Washington, D.C. and have time investing in those local relationships. But just so you know, the companies that we focus on, out of the 6,500 medical companies in the U.S., 80% have fewer than 50 employees. So when we're talking about our clients, our companies that we work with, they're small companies. The big companies are a very, very small percentage of the companies that we help. So if you are part of that 80%, we want to help you. That's who we are focused on. And you are certainly not too small to engage with us and to reap some of those benefits of exporting. The U.S. export market for medical equipment in 2015 was $43 billion. So that is a large number, but again, there's a lot of space to grow. The largest markets currently that U.S. companies are exporting to, first one would be the EU, and within the EU, some of the largest target markets include Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, of course, France, Italy, some of those markets in there. If you look into subsectors, areas like health IT and e-health are huge in the Nordic region, and a lot of opportunities going there with plans to increase that electronic platform for a lot of their equipment and records and communication that's available there. Canada is a second largest market for U.S. healthcare equipment, and often an easier one for U.S. companies to take a look at. So keep that in mind of not only is it a good market, but it's close, and it's often a little bit easier for people to start with. Japan and China are the markets 3 and 4 for the largest markets that are a good potential for U.S. equipment. And number 5 is Australia. So that gives you kind of an idea of where the U.S. products currently are going. Next, I want to take a look at the global medical device market in general. So as you can see here, again, the largest market by far is the U.S. And for companies that are just getting going, we do recommend start with the U.S., test it here. It is much easier to make sure you have your business down and understand your customer flows and what's working and not working within the U.S. But after that, here are some thoughts of some growing markets and markets of good potential. Again, the EU is a large market, however, not growing as fast. China has 7% of the global market, rounded out by Germany and Japan with 6% each, and 18% for the rest of the world. But focusing in on that 18%, again, these developing markets, emerging markets are growing at a much faster rate than some of the more established markets. So I would encourage you to also take a look at not only where the market is now, but where it's going, who your competition is. If your product is going to be going up against some of the big guys who are already well established and can defend their place in the market, maybe it makes sense to take a look at a different market that is a little smaller, maybe not as on the radar of other companies, but has good potential to grow. And those are all things that we can help you think through, understand what your benefits are, how to choose some top markets as you work with us. So forecasting, here's again a look at some of the regions, and I would point out for the Americas one, this graph also includes the U.S., which as we saw is the largest market. So if you're just looking at Latin America and Canada, not including the U.S., cut that down by about 40% for a look at growth rates coming up. But as you can see, there are a lot of countries that are growing rapidly, some good regions that would make sense to take a look at. We often encourage as a good strategy to find a region anchor country to begin with. So whether that's one that is easier for you to initially take that first step to open an office or have an agent or a representative there, or if it is a country where there's good logistics so that you can get your product into other markets in the region, it's often a good strategy to start in one place, make sure, again, you work out the kinks of getting your products there, of language barriers, of registration, of a lot of the different areas that you need, and then work out more or less from that area there. So some highlights to take a look at of some specific countries. For example, in Asia Pacific, Japan is the largest market to take a look at. That's a little bit more solid. China, again, is a large market, but we don't necessarily encourage that as a first market for new companies there. There's a lot of potential, but often a lot of challenges there as well. But Japan is a $26.3 billion market for medical devices. The U.S. has 22% of those imports, but accounts for about 60% of new products coming in. So if you have something that is innovative, that's different, that sets you apart, Japan can still be a very good market. Make sure that you set aside enough time to go through the registration process. It can sometimes take a long time, but it is an excellent market. It's stable. There is contract enforcement, and it's a great market to start working through the Asian region. For Europe, I'd say let's take a look at Germany as a good base for the EU. It's an extremely large market, very sophisticated medical devices. It is 11% of their GDP is on health spending, worth about $33 billion. And it's also the home of the largest medical device show in the world, Medica. So our buyers in Germany are always looking for those latest innovations. They go to that show every year looking for new products and services coming out of the U.S. market, and are eager to connect with the best technology that we have to offer. For the Middle East, let's take a look at Saudi Arabia. It's a $1.96 billion market for devices. And unlike some other markets in the Middle East, 100% foreign ownership is allowed. So if you decide to open up an office there or purchase a local company, you are allowed to fully own that company. Although we would recommend that you take a look at working with local representation. There are some different legal considerations. Sharia law is the law there that if you aren't familiar with it, it certainly makes sense to have someone who understands how to work within local legal traditions and their court systems. So while 100% ownership is allowed, we do recommend partnerships and understanding the local landscape perhaps before you dive right in there. South America, I've been keeping an eye on Colombia as a market of potential growth. Colombia currently imports about 86% of medical equipment. 96% of their products are duty-free. And it's one of those up-and-coming markets that they are, of course, recovering from many years of civil war, and have made some peace pacts with those rebel groups a couple of years ago, and are really now looking at rebuilding and setting up their country to be a hub of medical treatment and technology, and they're hungry for a lot of equipment. So that's one to keep an eye on for Latin America. So now that you kind of have an overview of some of these different markets there, I want to go into the specifics of how the U.S. Commercial Service can assist. And again, our mission is to grow U.S. exports and increase U.S. jobs. So any assistance that we can provide that can help you do that makes us very happy, and hopefully makes you happy as well. We're a little bit different than a lot of other perhaps federal agencies or maybe other services, in that we are based in U.S. embassies and consulates around the world, and really focus on deep relationships within market partners that can help you get your products and services into that country successfully. And that's everything from commercial relationships to government relationships that you may need to get product approval, to understand what market restrictions might be there, or to advocate on your behalf if there is a large government tender that is that's put out there that perhaps you want to bid on and want some support of the U.S. government. We're there to do that. So again, market access problems, that is anything from barriers or regulations that you feel are not there to support health and safety. Obviously, especially in the healthcare technology sector, a lot of those regulations are there for a very good reason, to make sure that local populations are healthy and safe as they're using these products. But sometimes those regulations are simply there to keep out foreign competition. So if that is the case, and we can make the case that these regulations are not actually contributing to reasonable health and safety standards, that's something that we want to know, so that in our government-to-government negotiations we can bring up those issues. We can identify perhaps other ways to get to a similar outcome if there really is a safety outcome they're looking for, in a way that doesn't unfairly bar U.S. companies from entering that market. Getting paid, again, is a huge one. That's all fun and games, but if you don't get that paycheck at the end of the day, there's no point really in exporting. And we have a lot of partners that we also work with that can help you set up both payment systems and credit insurance to make sure that even in the case of, things that are outside of any of our control, revolution or, major earthquakes or things like that, that there is insurance in place to make sure that you get paid. So some of our results, again, increase in revenue, 7% increase in new employment after just 12 months of working with the U.S. Commercial Service. So we, again, focus on results, and those are the types of results that we want to see for you too. So some specific services, we look at the full cycle of how we can support your company going into market. So that's everything from working with you on an export strategy, identifying some good countries to focus on, taking a look at who you are communicating with. So I know we all get those great emails that let you know that you have inherited millions of dollars from some king in a far-off land, and those generally are fraudulent emails, which I'm sure you know, but occasionally you might get an offer to buy your product from a Yahoo account from a country that maybe you have to look up on Wikipedia before you know where it is. But it doesn't always mean that it's not a legitimate company. But it's often hard for U.S. companies to say, is this a real company or not? That's where we can also come in to help. We, again, have our local representation in these countries who can make phone calls, go out and visit places of business, who can look up on government registration websites if it's a legitimate company or not, and make sure that you don't miss a good potential business partner in that country. If you don't get one of those emails that come back in, how do you find specific people? We also do business matchmaking to help you find those partners in country who can represent you. We look at trade shows. We look at how we can help you make the most of your time there. And of course, export compliance and regulations and a lot of those issues that you need to check off before you can successfully export. We have a lot of information that is available, so before you go overseas, before you go to a trade show, we want to make sure that you have the best market information, industry briefings, you know what's going on in those markets, you understand the trends that are happening there so that you can speak with confidence to what your partners will be asking that's relevant to their market. If you are going to a country and decide to utilize one of our services to help you find the right connections there, we can also help you with the logistics to make sure that it is easy, that we smooth out things and allow you to just focus on those appointments with your prospective partners in market. Some of our customized reports will allow you to identify places where you're doing really well in your international expansion, but also some places that you might want to take a look at to bring up to some global best practices that we've identified for companies to succeed in the international marketplace. We call this the International Expansion Blueprint. And all of our offices are willing to sit down with you and go through an extensive checklist and let you know, hey, you're doing great, or hey, here's some places you might want to take a look at, and here are some specific recommendations to make sure that you are putting your company in the best place to succeed internationally. Export, the basic exporting, again, there's a lot that does go into exporting. There are different methods and channels. Do you want an agent? Do you want a representative? Do you want a joint venture? Do you want a wholly owned company in that market? What are the upsides? What are the downsides? What are some specific legal considerations, maybe employment law in that local country that you didn't think about? E-commerce, is that appropriate for your product or service? In some markets, it's becoming much easier to sell over maybe an Alibaba platform than some of the traditional platforms that are there. Is that right for you? Those are some of the things that we can help you think through. Our basic guide to exporting is available on our website free of charge. If you go to export.gov/export guides. There's a couple of different guides there. A basic guide to exporting is one. So I would very much encourage you to take a look at that, spend some time with it, and ask any questions that come up with your local trade specialist. If you go to export.gov/industry/health, that is our healthcare team website, and I'll be mentioning that a couple of times over these next few slides because there really is a lot of excellent information there. On the left-hand side of the slide, you will see our Healthcare Technologies Resource Guide. That is a snapshot of more than 70 different markets that look specifically at the profile for the healthcare sector in those markets. What are the trends? Who are your competitors? What are some barriers? What are some trade events that those markets take a look at? Incredibly valuable. Again, it's free on our website. Take a look at it before you go to a market. Read through that brief snapshot. Each country is only about 2 or 3 pages, so it can be done while you're waiting to board your plane, but really important way to prepare. We also have a series called Top Market Reports, and those are intended to be forward-looking. What are some good markets of potential success for you in the healthcare sector? We have medical devices, we have health IT, we have pharmaceuticals, and again, those are all available on our website. Some specific services that we offer at healthcare events around the world are designed to help you make the most of those events. So we have programs like our CEO program that we do at Medica and CMEF in China, which is intended to be an incubation program. If you're not quite ready to launch into these massive medical events, we will provide some extra services, some extra hand-holding, make sure you have all of the support that you need to succeed. Our Business Connect program is also run at select trade shows, including Arab Health and Hospitalar, and that one is focused on connecting you with the foreign buyers that are looking for U.S. products and making sure that you're making the most of your time at those shows. Our Showtime program is offered at almost all of our domestic and international shows, focused on one-on-one appointments for U.S. companies with our U.S. Embassy-based healthcare specialists. So you can sit down with them, have a 20-minute meeting, and understand the overview of their market, your product potential, and ask any specific questions. And we also do trade missions to various countries around the world, which we call our Healthcare Executive Service. So a quick plug to keep up to date on all of our events and services. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out. Again, you can subscribe on our website. And a spotlight that I want to toss out, especially to this audience, is our upcoming Healthcare Executive Service to India. We'll be stopping in Mumbai, in New Delhi, and in Hyderabad. It's coming up in September. Applications are closing at the end of this month. It is a great opportunity to understand the market, to get some ideas of what you need to do, potential successes, and meeting specific partners in there. So I would encourage you to take a look at that and sign up for that if that would make sense. So we work with companies all across the U.S. We have 108 offices around the U.S. and work in more than 75 countries around the world. And these are people who want to meet with you and work with you to help you find success. Here are a couple of events that we are focusing on coming up over the rest of this year and early into next year. This is just a snapshot in some of the major ones, but we are doing local events across the U.S. and around the world throughout the year as well. And here's my contact information. I am happy to answer any specific questions and, of course, put you in touch with local specialists in your community and our healthcare specialists around the world to answer any specific questions. And, of course, we work very closely with our partners like Sannam S4, who are in markets, who have additional support and services, and who we very much rely on to take that next step to go deeper with you into the markets of their expertise, like India. And so with that, I know they have a great presentation that will cover some of those opportunities there as well. So thank you very much.
Kennedy, thank you very much for your presentation. That was lots of information, and just for all of those who are on the line, what we will do is share the both presentations with you afterwards. I'd like to quickly take this opportunity to plug a few more opportunities for our participants. AdvaMed's annual MedTech conference is September 25th to 27th in San Jose, California, and they also have a very interesting, we're talking about exports here, but raising capital is also a very important thing to do, especially if you're at the early stages of your business, and they're doing a very interesting event actually in Shanghai, the 4th Annual Healthcare Capital and Connection Summit from September 12th to the 14th in Shanghai, China. So what we will do is I'll also include updates to those events for you all when we follow up with an email. But with that, I think we'll turn it over to the spotlight on the Indian market. And Bharat Rampal is going to lead us through this presentation. So Bharat, over to you.
Thanks, Michael. Good morning, everyone. Once again, I am Bharat Rampal, Head of Research and Partnerships with Sannam S4 Consulting. I am based in New Delhi, and today I am going to speak about Indian medical technology sector and its, key imperatives with respect to what kind of changes the market has brought in last few years, how the market looks like, and what are the key drivers in these markets. So this spotlight basically covers on the Indian medical technology industry overview, which I would like to say that Indian medical technology industry is basically bifurcated under 4 major categories, which is consumables and implants, instruments and appliances, diagnostic imaging, and patient aids. If you see the consumables and implants, it mainly consists of products like syringes, stents, needles, catheters, and suturing materials. And within the instruments and appliances, there's a large focus on both surgical and non-surgical equipments. Within diagnostic images, we have witnessed a lot of products coming into India with focus on electrodiagnostic apparatuses and radiation apparatuses. And lastly, on the patient aids, we see a lot of emphasis on prosthetics and orthotics along with pacemakers. So the overall market has been growing rapidly in India. As the Indian population is also growing, we are also seeing a paradigm shift in the healthcare sector. The Indian healthcare sector has been growing on year-on-year basis at a CAGR of 18% approximately, and we have seen a constant growth between 2015 and 2017, where large investment opportunities and export opportunities coming from Europe and North America. So at the moment, the forecast looks for 2017 somewhere around 167 billion overall within the healthcare sector. Moving ahead, I would like to cover some points on the industry. How does it looks like on the medical technology aspect? We have seen at the moment the market has grown to 9.9 billion, which was in 2014, and the medical technology CAGR growth has been at the rate of 12%, which means we are expecting by 2025 a great growth of around $51 billion, which shows that there is a huge potential for India not only to develop and create a capacity within the country that also allows the large overseas markets, mainly from North America and Europe, to come invest, expand in research and development, along with bringing the new products to the Indian market. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the government has taken a great initiatives to build lot of investment policies, along with create the local manufacturing thrives in the market. The government has also taken a special initiative to build a technology park in India, which will be a first of its kind with focus on medical technology, and this has been launched recently in the state of Andhra Pradesh in the southern part of India. We have also, if you see the country India, we are seeing 5 major existing clusters which bifurcate the categories. Delhi NCR in the northern region, Ahmedabad in the west of the country, and Mumbai and Pune again in the west part, and Bangalore, which is in the south. These are the major 5 existing clusters which focuses on various products like technological disposables, low technology orthopedics implants and stents, and electronic and diagnostic industry products with focus also on electronic and equipment. So the Indian cluster is looking very proactive in getting new products coming into these sectors. Moving ahead, about Indian medical technology industry market size, we have seen under all the 4 categories, the growth is happening at a good rate. If you see from 2008, 9 years back, the market was close to $2.1 billion, and we are having a projection to reach at the level of $8.6 billion by 2020. Lastly, we have seen in last 3 years, the market has been growing between 2008 and 2014 at the rate of 10%, which was a good growth, but apparently we have seen a much more bigger jump in last 3 years, and keeping in projection in mind, we are expecting between 2014 and 2020 to grow at the rate of 15%, which means there is a growth of 5% more between 2008. And if you see this slide very carefully, while the patient aids and instrument and appliances are growing rapidly, we are also seeing a major chunk being lifted under the diagnostic imaging category. I would like to focus on the right side of the chart, which says that around 1.8 billion USD market is catered by the patient aids, which tops up with the instrument and appliances part around 2.9 billion, which shows mainly the instrument and appliance and diagnostic part will have the major market in the coming years by 2020 in India. Further, going ahead, we see the Indian medical technology industry has been growing, but also we see there are few key segments which dominate these markets. For example, if you look into the medical instrumentation and appliances part, which has a major share of around 26%, and we see a great a growth happening within the orthopedic goods, accounting for almost 20%. Syringes and needles are next to them, which has a great catering of around 11% in the market. India has been seeing a great demand for syringes and needles, where we have been moving from advanced technology in syringes and needles for large vaccination campaigns, drives done across the India, that has potentially created a long-sighted demand for needles and catheters, mainly disposable category. We see around 700 medical device makers present in India, and India being one of the strong markets within Asia, dominated by also other countries like Japan, China, and South Korea. So globally, India has a great demand, but we still feel, as per the growing population of India, there is a huge potential for exports from the United States to India. The medical device sector in India is highly important because of its imports constitutes over 75% of the estimated market value, which is ranging somewhere around 9,600 USD to around 11,200 million USD dominance. So overall, the demand has been good. There are also some few sectors where in the category we see, the bandages sector is going very well at the rate of 6%, being into the allied parts. The Xray Operator segment again has grown. We have seen a lot of new initiatives and tender coming across pan-India basis, not only at the public level but also within the top private categories. Demand for instant X-rays happening rather than the conventional ones, which means if you want to do an instant X-ray on the spot, it could be on the high hills where the armies are deputed, or in the critical areas where hotspot X-rays are used. Those kind of demands have also picked up recently, and are getting used to these kind of equipments very well.
This is Michael. All right, real quick, can we go back to the last slide, because I think maybe when we transition the presentation from PowerPoint over to the platform here, it's just saying category name and percentage. So I thought just real quickly I would read out to the group, I guess from 12 o'clock around. The first category there is medical instruments and appliances at 26%, orthopedic and prosthetic goods at 20%. Then at about 6 o'clock, it's syringes, needles, and catheters, 11%. Next to that is electromedical at 10%, Xray apparatus at 10%, and then bandages and other medical supplies at 8%, and then the remaining 15% at about 10, 11 o'clock is other categories. So I'm not sure if I was the only one who couldn't see the percentages there, but we'll be sure in the presentation that's shared afterwards that you can see those clearly. Sorry, Bharat, back over to you.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for clarifying the percentages. Now I would like to move ahead with the trends and opportunities in the medical technology sector. India is overall a huge market of opportunities and investments. While we see a lot of paradigm shifts happening on time-to-time basis. Indian market has also seen a great international interest with respect to setting up of a new manufacturing basis, and which also open a window for lot of joint ventures and mergers and acquisitions. Recently, we have seen few opportunities in the field of 3M manufacturing, where they came up with the manufacturing plant. We have also seen Becton Dickinson coming with the manufacturing facility up north in the state of Haryana. And there are a few more examples like Hollister's and Philips Medical Systems, who have come with specific X-ray technologies. So what I'm trying to say here is these are some major examples for setting up of manufacturing and JVs, and there are huge more potentials for enhancing the Indian technology, which still needs more R&D aspect as well as a transfer of technology coming from West. As I say, that government has taken key initiatives to develop some parks. There is a huge potential to develop more parks in India. I think as for the 5 clusters mentioned in my previous slide, there is huge potential to come up in the west of India and also in the north of India. That will be really good. India keeps on remaining to be price sensitive despite the opportunities, not only in the medical technology sector but across diversified fields. India is a volume-based business for any new foreign entrant coming into India, and we see the margins being very low, but that always brings lots of volume in the business. And if you see the latest initiative taken by Modi government and an announcement made on the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority known as NPPA, the prices of stents have now been fixed by the government. We have seen around 85% prices have been slashed down by the government, and now fixed prices have come at the government level, which is a remarkable achievement within the stent category, and it is also including the orthopedics. So we see this is a great initiative which has never been done before, and perhaps it's a good opportunity for coming years to look into other products and similar categories. Moving to the opportunities part, there are tremendous opportunities. We are aware India being a great emerging country in the Asia region. We have seen a lot of leverage by the domestic players and a lot of dynamics in the market. But I think while the foreign players are coming into the India and domestic market is emphasizing a lot of research and development, that also creates a healthy competitive atmosphere in the market, which means there is a great demand for a cutthroat competition, and also companies coming from North America and Europe, they should do a preliminary understanding of the pricing pattern and see how competitive the local market is. We see a great opportunities from West in the outsourcing and research and development capabilities. Ideally, there is a demand not only from R&D point of view, but there is also a huge fast rising impact for medical tourism hub across the world. India has witnessed a lot of international expats coming for major surgeries and critical ailment solutions. We see countries from Africa, from Middle East, people there often come to India for better doctors and better technologies. Obviously, the technologies are derived from United States and from Europe, but the skill set of the Indian doctors also complement it very well to give a solution to the international travelers who's coming to cure their ailments. Michael, here, would you like to add a point?
Yeah, sure. If we could just go back to that slide, and I want to focus on price controls a bit. And interesting to hear. I think a lot of the for medical device companies, price controls are really not an attractive aspect to a market in terms of entering. And previously to joining Sannam S4, I worked at the U.S. India Business Council, part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and we worked a lot on this price control issue. So I think Bharat or Mark also kind of get to the point that there's in the Indian media and in the India kind of population generally, there's very little coverage for medical expenses. So the pricing pressures on products, especially in the healthcare space, are very, very high. But just kind of wanted to highlight the price sensitivity issue and specifically the price controls issue that many of the right now suspense companies are facing, but it's looking like it might expand into orthopedics and potentially a few other categories. So we'll pick up on some of the regulatory aspects further in the presentation, but back over to you.
Thanks, Michael. I would like to now also, for the interest level of the audience, would like to quickly cover points on the registration part, because obviously while entering in India, it's very, very important to know how the registration is done, what the process is all about. So perhaps we could do a detailed topic sometime in near future on the registration, but I thought it will be good to cover on the product registration process. So yes, coming to India for the product registration can be challenging, but now government has reduced the number of documentation as well as the paperwork with the support of single window clearance for most of the products. Yes, these things further require best of the approach, but typically in 2017 we have been helping companies by defining and verifying whether your products require registration or not. It's very important to know in India whether your products come under category of notified or not notified products. That should be your step one. You must appoint an agent in India. So it's always sensible and wise enough to get an agent who has a capability to import your product into the India and has a great sub-distribution and distribution network to reach out on pan-India basis. Obviously, he should have licenses and all the requisite documents to take business ahead. We generally prepare with the help of Indian agent and the foreign entity to develop a Form 40 application. So basically, Form 40 application is for the certificate for imports of drugs and cosmetics rule set by the government. So this is one of the important form which has to be filled. Then when you fill this form and submit to the government, you pay the required government fees. Along with that, you get a TR6 challan. Basically, TR6 challan is used for its for a material for the foreign companies' products which is coming, and you pay the custom duty and added duty for the particular TR6 form. It has been also noticed that TR6 form is under the process of upgradation. India has has recently launched a GST, which is known as Goods and Service Tax. So the idea is to take out the formalities of reducing the government fees and keep a straightforward process. But as of now, this form still exists, though the government is having a talk on this. Further, when this TR6 form challan is submitted, we need to submit your application to the Drug Controller General of India, which is the equivalent body like FDA in United States, and then the product further gets into the registration. I would like to also comment here, this process can be cumbersome at times. So I have indicated this may take anything between 6 to 18 months. Keeping in mind if your papers, processes and agent is sorted with all the import process and all kind of clearances are done, you may get this ahead also. But the past trend says most of companies bringing their new medical technology and medical device have taken minimum 6 months of the time, and in the rare cases, what we have observed, it can go almost to a period of 1.5 years. Slide number 8, I would suggest Michael to cover the key aspects of tax and regulatory. Michael, over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bharat. So as Envy mentioned, Sannam S4, one of the aspects that we pick up from where the U.S. commercial service leaves off are these specific compliance issues and structuring your business that is necessary for growing and entering and expanding into new markets. So from the business structuring standpoint, for many of you on the line, the decision is to understand exactly what's the best structure for you to expand into other markets. So do you find distributor relationships? Do you go through that route? Do you look to M&A or set up joint ventures, or do you look to kind of start your own entity, develop out your sales team, manufacture, whatever else it would be? All of these decisions come with their own aspects from a compliance standpoint that we help walk our clients through. So whether it's tax compliance, repatriation of money, and these are some of the questions that typically come up and that we handle for our clients not only in India but in 19 other markets globally. Quickly from a regulatory standpoint as it relates to India, one of the positives is of the India market with the medical device sector is that they, a couple of years ago, allowed for 100% FDI investment through the automatic route. Previously, there was a cap on the amount that foreign companies could invest into the Indian market. So that cap has been lifted, but again, there's other regulatory aspects to entering the Indian market, and Bharat referred to one of them, the goods and services tax, which just rolled out earlier this month, and everyone is really excited about in India because it essentially creates one tax across the country. Previously, each state had different tax rates, so moving goods across borders became very complex. Obviously, there's teething issues with whenever there's a big kind of reform rolled out, but those issues are kind of moving forward quite well. And excuse me if there's any dog barking in the background. The last is the regulatory landscape specific for medical devices. For the notified and not notified list, essentially there's 14 categories of medical devices that are regulated in the market, and they fall under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. The Drugs and Cosmetics Act also regulates pharmaceuticals, which is where a lot of the issues that face medical device companies from a regulatory standpoint, they come up because of this structure. There's yet to be a specific set of rules for the device space. So, we've heard the price controls before. There's price controls on a number of different drugs in India, and the NPPA, the regulator for pricing, also has jurisdiction over these 14 notarized categories. Another thing just to flag from a regulatory standpoint is the Make in India initiative and how that impacts imports, impacts foreign businesses. There's a big drive to increase domestic manufacturing, which shouldn't be a surprise to folks in the U.S. Either, but in India, the Make in India initiative, one of the aspects to that has been increasing the import duty from 5% to 7.5% on medical devices. So these are just a few of, flagging just kind of a few of the regulatory tax and regulatory aspects in terms of doing business in India that we wanted to highlight because, there's sector-specific, issues that you should keep in mind when looking at markets globally, but then also all of the other compliances just as a corporate moving into the market that you'll need to, pay attention to. So with that, Bharat, maybe I'll turn it over to you for some of the recent innovations that are coming out of India.
Yeah, thanks again, Michael. So going ahead, there are a few examples which will be very interesting to know to the audience that what kind of examples recently India has witnessed with respect to bringing innovation of medical technology. If you see on the top of the list, we have Trans Asia. This company has developed its in vitro diagnostic equipment through R&D based in Mumbai. Initially, we have seen very less players coming in this, but this will be a great example to get more leads in vitro diagnostics. Then there is an Indian company who has spent an external focus on the external fixator of the market. This is called Shushrutt Adler Group. Seeing next, Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson has been in India for quite some time, but they have recently taken an initiative in specific for the Indian market on knee implants, and also we have seen a reusable stapler in the surgeries at the point level. Philips has brought a launch of a low-cost cath labs in the Indian market. Seeing the next two examples quickly, Roche has brought a screening device for cardiovascular diseases, which will be very good for the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and also for the rural areas, which has a huge demand for cardiovascular diseases. And I think Roche is also working very closely with all independent state level to take a drive out of it. GE Healthcare has developed a very low-cost ECG machine and low-cost ultrasound machines for the Indian market. Obviously, there has been an advancement on the kind of technology they were having in past from now. Quickly keeping time in mind, I would like to also cover on key growth drivers for medical technology in India. If we see the total landscape with respect to medical technology, we have seen a quick upgradation of technology, which is happening very fast in India. The Indian audiences and patients are seeing new products on monthly basis coming into the market. That also motivates them for better treatment locally here in India. As I mentioned earlier in one of the points, the medical tourism hub is the leading demand for world-class equipment that gives an opportunity for the medical technology segment. We are also addressing and seeing among the providers and consumers, there's a huge awareness between the audiences. More and more people are getting literate on what kind of a technology they would like to go for independent operations or for their specific needs with respect to their friends and relatives. That shows the Indian audience is getting more aware with respect to that. Earlier we have seen what technology was existing in India, people will only sticking to that. We have also seen a great competition, as I mentioned earlier. I won't spend much time here. We have seen obviously the rise of health insurance. While the medical technology and healthcare sector has boomed in last decade or so, we are also seeing a great demand in the health insurance sector, which also creates opportunity in the IT health jointly in this sector, and which also creates job opportunities both in metros and non-metro cities on pan-India basis. We have seen good patient profile changes. There is an increase in the non-communicable disease patterns, and also while the Indian industry is growing, the purchasing power of the Indian audiences have grown, which also creates an opportunity that they can afford products coming from North America and also from Europe, and also high opportunities for exports is generated by default by this. Earlier we have witnessed that the expensive products were out of the reach of the Indian audiences, but I think that has also seen a drastic change, which means the Indian audiences now have deeper pockets, and it creates a great opportunity for Western world. Some few challenges. While there are growths, we see also challenges. Challenges also comes with the growth, and obviously we have seen low penetration across the market. These medical technology has been restricted towards the major metro cities of India. There is a huge potential and untapped areas in the smaller cities and the rural areas where we feel there is a huge potential to reach into that regions. Affordability, just mentioned tier 1 big hospitals have this, but obviously the affordability factor also comes to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. On the accessibility part, we have seen there's inadequate or no presence in the rural areas, which means the major masses in India doesn't have full access to the modern and new equipments coming from the West. They are still dependent upon the local government-funded products and the technologies. In terms of availability, I see a huge gap between the people and the available options in the markets. keeping in mind we are 1.25 billion population. That means there is a huge availability gap. And awareness, I would like to say more and more people are getting aware, but this is mainly again happening in top 5 major cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore and Chennai, which means there is a huge potential and awareness opportunities to be created across the market. I would suggest more awareness campaigns to be done in these markets by the Indian government and as well as by the private players to have a pan-India reach. I would now say to Michael to take Sannam S4.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you, Bharat. And I'll just keep this very brief. I realize we're at the top of the hour. But we will be sharing these slides with the entire group afterwards. But quickly on Sannam S4, again, who we are, we're a single window market entry solutions provider. We're in 20 markets globally. We have 130 people here in India. And lastly, we launched a very exciting initiative, the U.S. Business Centers Initiative, and this is dedicated to helping U.S. organizations succeed in India. We have partners, Citibank, U.S. India Business Council, JLL, Taj Hotels and Palaces, and as Kennedy mentioned, also strategic partners of the U.S. Trade Administration and U.S. Commercial Service. So within these centers, our partners help U.S. companies explore, enter, and expand. These are the range of services. So everything from how do we hire someone to what are the HR laws to how do I repatriate funds? What are the tax implications? These are all things that our team can help support you all on. And back to Kennedy's presentation and why I moved to India is because I believe in the market despite the challenges, and I also believe in this place as a real opportunity for small, medium-sized companies, for mid-market companies, because you see, if you have an opportunity, and there's a great opportunity in September to come to India, but if you do come to India, you will see that there are small, medium-sized businesses from Germany, from Japan, from France, from Israel, from all over the world doing fantastic things here. There's U.S. companies as well, but given the size of the U.S. market, we can do better. So I think with that, I think we are, I'm really excited to be here. I just moved over in April, and we work alongside companies from a range of sectors, from the medical device healthcare space, but to fintech, to higher education and others. Next slide, just in terms of where and how to find us. In the U.S., we're in Washington, D.C., North Carolina, New Jersey, and Los Angeles. Of course, you can visit our website, and there's a chat box there. You can chat with our experts. And we will be attending the Discover Global Markets event, which will be in Cleveland, Ohio from September 18th to the 20th, and also participating in Export Tech, which is sector agnostic, but a great way if your company is at the early stages of understanding how to export. The Department of Commerce has these export tech programs that get you export ready. So with that, I'd just like to thank everybody for being with us today. We hope you found the presentation helpful, and feel free to reach out to us with any questions. I think since we're at the top of the hour, we can take any of the questions that you have offline, and feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to field those questions to Kennedy and Bharat, or reach out to them directly as well. So with that, Kennedy, thank you so much for your presentation, and Bharat for your presentation as well. And thank you for those who joined us, and to AdvaMed and MDMA for their support in getting the word out. So with that, I think we'll close.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great day ahead in the U.S.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.